Hello, everyone. Welcome to Options with Doug, streaming live on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Bookmap Discord and the Bookmap YouTube channel. Before I get started, I need to go through the disclosures. General disclosure: all Bookmap limited materials, information, and presentations are for educational purposes only and should not be considered specific investment advice nor recommendations. Risk disclosure: trading futures, equities, and options involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. Here's my contact information. The best way to get in touch with me is through Discord. My name on Discord is Doug P. Also in Bookmap Discord, there's an Options-Doug chat channel. You can post questions, comments, and content related to the topics of my presentation and the topics of the channel that I'll go through in just a moment. I'm also on X. My name there is @Pless. For those of you who've seen my webinars before, please bear with me. I want to make sure everyone understands my approach for trading. So here are the key tenets to my approach. This is how I look at markets. I believe that options trades and market maker hedging activity are key drivers of price in many stocks and futures. That certainly applies to large cap tech stocks like the Magnificent Seven stocks, as well as the equity index futures like the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ 100. And for the S&P 500, SPX is the underlying index, SPY is the ETF version of that index, and the ES futures contract is a derivative of SPX. And when traders buy and sell puts and calls in SPX and SPY, market makers take the opposite side of the trades and they hedge their delta exposure with ES futures. And for the NASDAQ 100, NDX is the underlying index, QQQ is the ETF version of that index, and the NQ futures contract is a derivative of NDX. And just like the S&P 500, when traders buy and sell puts and calls in NDX and QQQ, market makers take the opposite side of the trades and they hedge their delta exposure with NQ futures. So you will see me focusing on for the S&P 500, SPX, and SPY levels, and for the NASDAQ 100, NDX, and QQQ levels, whether I'm trading, for example, for S&P 500, whether I'm trading ES, SPX, or SPY, and the same for the NASDAQ. The focus of my presentation today and the focus of the Options-Doug chat channel is options order flow, the impact of options markets on stocks and futures, and the influence of market maker hedging flow on price action, which can be quite large. Here's my process for trading. I have a two-step process for trading. The first is planning, and I use positional analysis. I look at how traders and market makers are positioned in the options market and how those positions change from day to day to develop a thesis regarding expected trading range and volatility for the day, as well as a directional bias. And the second step in my process is execution. I look at real-time order flow in Bookmap, and real-time market maker hedging flow in Spotgamma Hero to confirm my thesis and for setups. And when I talk about setups, I will be focusing on an underlying asset. Setups in that asset can be taken with futures contracts, shares of stock, or options depending on the asset, as well as the way you like to trade. And I believe that focusing on order flow and hedging flow gives me the most complete picture of what is going on in this underlying asset, again, whether it's futures or stocks. Questions and comments are welcome, and I will be watching both the Options-Doug chat channel as well as the chat and YouTube for your questions and comments. Please feel free to post. I'll do my best to answer your questions. Hello, Stephen. Welcome. Glad you're here. All right, here's my agenda for today, Wednesday, March 11th. First of all, I want to go over news items, economic data, events, and earnings for today as well as the rest of the week. Then I'll go through my positional analysis. Then I'll review some setups earlier today. Then I'll get to live market. And when I get to live market, if anyone has any stocks they want me to take a look at, please let me know and I'll be glad to do that. All right, let's start with the news items. And while we're doing that, let's take a look at the ES futures and Bookmap. So I'm looking at the complete session that began yesterday afternoon. So let's zoom in on this a little bit. All right, so data today. First of all, CPI data came out at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. And that came in line with expectations. Here's the knee-jerk reaction to that data. Quick move up. You can see the small green volume dots. Buyers quickly become exhausted. Resistance right around the SPX 6,800 level, and price reverses lower. All right, so that was CPI data that came out this morning. All right, there was one other news event. At least I think this move was due to news. And this was, and I posted this breaking news in the Options Hashtag chat channel. President Trump said practically nothing left to target it in Iran. Trump says war with Iran will end soon. And the IEA members agreed to release 400 million barrels of oil. So that's the G7 countries. So there was, let me tone down these volume dots just a little bit. So that came in, that news came out, I think, right before 10 a.m. There's the reaction. Again, quick move up. Buyers quickly exhausted. And note the resistance level. This is the SPY 680 volatility trigger. And that was noted as resistance in the Spotgamma AM Founders Note, the top of the range. So that level was, again, expected to act as resistance. And that's exactly what happened. Setting up a great short just after 10 a.m. when that news came out. And price reversed at that level that you expected to act as resistance. All right, so that was the news for today. Coming up for the rest of the week. Oh, and also Oracle reported earnings after the close yesterday. We'll take a look at the Oracle reaction today in just a couple minutes. All right, so that's news today. Tomorrow, I don't know if it's significant or not, but 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time, jobless claims, building permits, housing starts. And then on Friday, more inflation data. PCE comes out at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Also durable goods and GDP, all at 8:30. And then at 10 a.m., Michigan consumer sentiment comes out. Looks like there might have been more news that just came out. Rejection at VWAP. And then aggressive sellers start to come in. Let me do a quick check of news. All right, this may be it. FBI has warned police departments in California that Iran wants to retaliate for American attacks by launching offensive drones against the West Coast. All right, so I don't know if that's what's driving the market lower or not, but it's been a very volatile day in a negative gamma, pretty unstable environment, and mostly setting up good shorts if you're patient, like the one that I mentioned just after 10 a.m. All right, before I spend more time on this chart, let's step back. Let's take a look at our higher time frame. Let's go to SPX, the underlying index chart. So again, this is SPX, 1 year, 1 day chart in Thinkorswim, showing the rally that began last year, April 25, and then it has turned into consolidation in 2026, and now a downtrend, with SPX making a series of lower highs and lower lows. So let's take a look at that. Let's go to a shorter time frame. Let's go to a 30-day 1-hour chart. So I have a couple of downtrends shown on this chart. First of all, this is a linear regression channel containing 100% of the price. And then I drew this trend line that began a couple of weeks ago. Again, SPX making lower highs, lower lows. All right, let's take a look at the levels on this chart. I'm going to start with the expected moves. Expected moves are based on the options market, based on the closing price for SPX. For the weekly expected moves shown by the dark purple lines, those are, again, based on the closing price for SPX last Friday. Those levels remain in place for the entire week. Dashed blue lines showing the lower and upper daily expected move. Again, based on the options market, based on the closing price for SPX from yesterday. And I do post the expected moves every day for SPX, ES, and NQ in the Options Dash chat channel and Discord. All right, so right now, SPX is pretty much in the middle of both of those ranges. All right, let's take a look at the Spotgamma levels on this chart. These are based on gamma-weighted open interest. They're provided to Spotgamma subscribers on a variety of trading platforms. Again, this is Thinkorswim, 30-day 1-hour chart. I'm going to point out the key daily levels. First of all, the put wall remains at 6,700. That's a strike where largest net negative gamma that can be expected to act as support. The next level up is the volatility trigger at 6830. Then a Spotgamma's proprietary volatility and gamma flip level. Below that level, market makers' position on the gamma curve is negative. In a negative gamma environment, market makers have to trade with price to hedge their delta exposure. That tends to enhance or increase volatility. Above that level, market makers' position on the gamma curve is positive. In a positive gamma environment, market makers have to trade against price to hedge their delta exposure. That tends to subdue or decrease volatility. Note that is based on Spotgamma's older total open interest model. We'll take a look at a view of gamma based on their newer synthetic open interest model in just a couple of minutes. And we'll see that is all negative, leading to a pretty unstable market. All right, so the volatility trigger did move up compared with yesterday. All right, next, the absolute gamma strike at 7,000. That's a strike where largest absolute positive and negative gamma. So that's where most of the gamma-weighted open interest is concentrated. Then finally, the call wall has now moved back up to 7,100. That's a strike where largest net positive gamma that can be expected to act as resistance. All right, so for today, SPX, the volatility trigger and call wall both shifted higher. So that is a bullish brace for SPX. Let's wrap up our view of SPX with a 1-minute chart. And I am showing about 5 days worth of data here. Regular trading hours shown in the dark shading. And really, I'm showing that much data to indicate how volatile the S&P 500 has been. Got another downtrend going. With all the news news headlines, oil, Iran war, SPX, and NASDAQ as well has been quite choppy, reacting pretty violently to any headline. All right, levels in play. Volatility trigger up above. Down below is the put wall, 6,700. And then there are a couple of intermediate levels here, combo levels, that were in play. Zero gamma level earlier today. All right, that's SPX. Let's take a look at SPY, the other underlying index component. Again, I'm showing this is showing regular trading hours yesterday, dark shading, regular trading hours today. Again, showing how choppy the index has been. All right, so let's zoom in on this. Here's the key for today. SPY 680. Large gamma 3 volatility trigger acting as resistance. After that reaction to the news, again, that level was noted in the Spotgamma AM Founders Note as resistance. That's exactly what happened. Looks like a head and shoulders pattern here. Then this appears to be another reaction to news. So mainly short setups today we're working. All right, that's SPY. All right, back to Bookmap. So again, key level for today. 680 level. That's SPY 680. And it looks like the SPX 6750 around that level acted as support earlier today. Between SPX 6750 and ES 6750. All right, so you note those lines are separated a little bit, and that is the ES to SPX offset that continues to decline until a rollover, then it will expand again. So that offset today is right around 5 points. So ES minus SPX equal 5 points. So I'm showing SPX 6750. Oops. SPX 6750 at ES 6755. 5 points above the ES 6750 level. And I do post the index relationships that I use every day in Discord. All right, that's the S&P 500. We'll take a look at setups in just a couple of minutes. All right, for SPY, there were no shifts in levels. Let's take a look at NASDAQ. This is the NQ futures of Bookmap. Same reactions to news. This is looking at the complete session that began yesterday at 6 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Zoom in on that a little bit. All right, the red lines are showing the NQ round number levels. And then the white lines are showing QQQ and NDX Spotgamma levels. So let's take a look at those. Let's go to the underlying index components. We'll start with QQQ. So we can isolate those levels, see if there are any levels in play. So let's zoom in on this. So you can see this is pretty crazy choppy, just like the S&P 500. All right, levels in play. Here's a combo level up above the 610 level, then the 610 large gamma 2 level. And note QQQ broke pretty hard below its volatility trigger at 608. Looks like found support right around 605. But overall making lower highs. All right, that's QQQ. Let's take a look at NDX. Let's zoom in on this. All All right, key levels. 25,075. That's a call wall, absolute gamma strike. And then the 25,000 large gamma 2 level, just recently acting as resistance. All right, back to Bookmap NQ futures. There's the QQQ 610 level. 610 there. Then the NDX 25,000 level, acting as resistance. We'll talk about setups in just a couple of minutes. So those are the levels in play. Down below is the NDX volatility trigger. That's at 24,820. NDX 24,820. All right, let's wrap up our positional analysis by taking a look at gamma. So let's go to the trace gamma heat map. This is available to Spotgamma subscribers. It is showing market makers' gamma position. Red shading indicates negative gamma. Remember, in negative gamma, we're looking for higher volatility, more unstable market. And there is a little bit of blue shading up above. And a blue shading, we're looking for positive gamma, more stable market, with market makers trading against price, more pinning price action. All right, so we can see SPX within the range shown on this chart is bright red, negative gamma. All right, let's move on. Let's take a look at some setups. I'm going to start with the SP 500. This is the ES futures in Bookmap. This is the SP 500. So again, I'm going to start with the SP 500, and I'm going to take a look at see what options traders have been doing today. So this is the S&P 500 hero signal, showing options trades and market maker hedging activity for the S&P 500 index components. We've already taken a look at a couple of those. That is SPX and SPY. This also includes ES and XSP. White line is price for SPX, and the purple line is the hero signal. A rising hero signal indicates traders are taking positive delta options positions. They're buying calls and or selling puts. So the directional line indicates options delta. Then a falling hero signal indicates traders are taking negative delta positions. They are buying puts and or selling calls. In each case, market makers take the opposite side of the trades, and they have to buy or sell futures to remain delta neutral. All right, so let's zoom in on this. So using hero signal, you can help to confirm these turning points, these sharp turning points in the market. So this was, let's point out the first three. Right at 940, full alert comes in, signals significant options activity, and can often, and in this case it does, signal a reversal in hedging flow from positive delta to negative delta. That's exactly what happened. Then again, the hero signal shifted right around 952. And then the most significant was at 1001 with that peak pattern, and then the reversal lower at the SPY 680 level that you expected to act as resistance. All right, so those are the turning points shown by the hero signal. So let's go back to Bookmap. Let's zoom in on this. Actually, let's zoom in more. All right, turning points, 940. excuse me, turning point's 940. Hero flow alert comes in. Price reverses lower. It looks like ES reversed right at the point of control, which did move down a little bit. Next reversal, 952. Hero signal reverses again. Note the green volume dots coming in. Aggressive buyers start to come in, consume these orders right at 67.80. Price reverses higher, pullback entry as traders continue to take positive delta positions. Looks like the news came in there. Stop run, aggressive buyers moving price up. Aggressive buyers shown by green volume dots, blue cumulative volume delta. Yellow line shows stop orders, stop run up to the level you expect to act as resistance, that you plan for, expect to act as resistance. That's exactly what happened. Aggressive sellers come in again, peak pattern in Hero, and price reverses lower. All right, so if you were an observant, careful, patient trader today, watching all the signs, they were there. There were much easier trades. We'll take a look at it and some stocks in just a couple of minutes. All right, so that's the S&P 500. Let's take a look at one other hero signal that's available for the S&P 500. That's the S&P 500 equities. So this is showing options trades and market maker hedging activity for all 500 stocks in the S&P 500 index. And you can see this peak pattern here. Came in 10:01. Very clear. Let's shift to puts and calls. I'm going to have to jump back to avoid the auto zoom. So this is a call peak pattern. This is a very reliable reversal pattern. That strong move up call buyers that sharply turns lower. Very reliable bearish reversal pattern. That's exactly what happened. Traders started selling calls, continue to sell calls, also buying puts shown by the falling blue line. And the S&P 500 reversed lower. All right, let's take a look at NASDAQ. So just like the S&P 500, there are two signals that we can take a look at. This is the NASDAQ index signal showing options trades and market maker hedging activity. For the NASDAQ index components, we've already taken a look at those. That is QQQ and NDX. So what this is showing is traders were initially selling puts, shown by the rising blue line. Put sellers took the foot off the gas just after 10. Call peak pattern. The NASDAQ reversed lower. Note it did break above the 25,075 call wall key gamma strike that I mentioned earlier. All right, there's one other signal that we can take a look at for the NASDAQ, just like the S&P 500. This is the MAG 7 signal. Showed this bullish opening move, traders selling puts, buying calls, sharp peak pattern. Traders start selling calls, buying puts, and NASDAQ reverses lower. So let's go take a look at Bookmap. Sorry, having a little bit of trouble with my pen tool. All right, let's go to NASDAQ. Zoom in. All right, so let's focus on this 1001 peak pattern. Volume dots in Bookmap show market buy minus sell. Green volume dots indicate more buyers than sellers. Magenta dots more sellers than buyers. So you can see the buyers are exhausted. More sellers coming in. Price of versus lower with that peak pattern and the hero signals. Both the NASDAQ index and Mag 7. Pullback entry for short. Cumulative volume delta, sell stops, driving price lower, as well as call sellers and put buyers. All right, so that's the NASDAQ short setup. And we'll take a look at the live market in just a couple of minutes. And again, it looks like this is the reaction to the most recent news. Sharp breakdown. Now again, NASDAQ trying to recover. All right, let's take a look at some stocks, and we'll get to live market. So I've got 6 stocks I want to take a look at. 2 Mag 7 stocks, 1 memory stock, 1 stock that reported earnings yesterday evening, that's Oracle, and then 2 stocks in the news. So let's start with a couple of Mag 7 stocks. First, NVIDIA. This is a pretty typical pattern today. Bullish opening drive and then a reversal. All right, so let's see what options traders are doing. So let's go to NVIDIA. Zoom in on this. Classic pattern. Traders buy calls at or near the open. Market makers sell the calls. They have to buy stock to hedge their delta exposure. Note when the call buyers take their foot off the gas. 10:01. That time should be familiar after looking at the S&P 500, and NASDAQ. All right, so call buyers up until 10:01. Take the foot off the gas. Price consolidates for a bit, then starts to move lower as traders continue to buy puts. When traders buy puts, market makers sell the puts, and they have to sell stock to hedge their delta exposure. So starting right around, well, it looks like right around 10:20, 10:25, traders continue to buy puts, started selling calls, and then there's bearish momentum. So bullish opening drive lasted about a half an hour, and it was even less time in some stocks that we'll take a look at, and then price reverse lower. So let's go to NASDAQ. Let's go to NVIDIA. Let's zoom in on this. Pretty choppy, but bullish opening drive as traders are buying calls. Cumulative volume delta, mostly rising. Also note in the subchart here, I use the Market Pulse price change indicator to help identify the deeper pullbacks for long entries. And I'm looking for that bright red shading. As price breaks under VWAP and then moves higher. Targets up above 187 liquidity, 188 liquidity. Those were limit sell orders in the order book. All right, so that's NVIDIA. Bullish opening drive to consolidation and then a reversal. There's that brief consolidation right at the 187.50 level. Those limit sell orders in the order book were consumed. All right, so that's NVIDIA. Let's take a look at Tesla. Similar pattern. Bullish, much stronger bullish opening drive. Lasted until 10:01. You guessed it, 10:01. Then reverse lower. A lot of aggressive buyers at the open, shown by the rising blue line there, cumulative volume delta. Let's zoom in on this. Yeah, I should have turned off the intermediate round number lines, the yellow lines. Price targets, 410, 415, high liquidity, limit sell orders in the order book. It looks like the orders were all consumed for 11, 12, 13, 14, then 15, then at actually 16. You can see the buyers are exhausted there. Small green volume dot. Let's see what options traders are doing. Go to Hero. There's Tesla. Similar pattern. Bullish opening drive. Traders buy calls. Whoops. Traders buy calls from the open. Flow alert signals significant options activity. Get your attention. Looks like Tesla did stall at the 410 call wall. Then finally broke higher as traders started buying calls again and selling puts. Then there's that 10:01 peak pattern. Traders start selling calls, buying puts. Tesla reverses lower with bearish momentum. Hero showing bearish momentum. Traders buying puts, selling calls. All right, that's Tesla. Bullish opening drive, again, just like NVIDIA, lasted about a half an hour. Then consolidation to reversal lower. Tesla back down on the 405 level. All right, those Mag 7 stocks. Got another stock to look at, memory stock. Micron, strong today. And unlike the two stocks that we just looked at, this one is more of a continuation pattern, continuation or consolidation. Very strong today, day today in Micron. Dark blue line showing traders aggressively buying shares. You can also see all the green volume dots. Let's see what options traders are doing. Go to Micron. Pretty choppy hero signal. Let's zoom in. So it looks like it took the call buyers a little while to join. So remember, Tesla and NVIDIA were consolidating, reversing lower at 10:01 a.m. And it looks like Micron really just kept going. A little bit of consolidation here. And call buyers joined the party later, as well as some. These are showing large block orders, so large institutions selling puts. Aggressive buyers. very large orders, buying puts, then selling puts. But net for the day, traders are buying calls and selling puts shown by the positive delta notional. So there's Micron. And the bullish opening drive lasted, it looks like, until about somewhere between 11:05 and 11:10. 430 call wall up above. Back to Bookmap. And then just above, high liquidity targets 423, 425. So if Micron keeps going higher, traders continue to sell puts, buy calls, buy shares. Those are the next targets up above. And again, the market pulse price change indicator helping to mark the deeper pullbacks for the high probability entries in the uptrend. All right, next stock, Oracle reported earnings after the close. Very brief bullish opening drive. And it looks like the better trade was a short. So we'll see what options traders are doing today. Let's go to Oracle. So there it is. The brief bullish opening drive lasted about 15 minutes, maybe 16, 17 minutes. Traders aggressively buying calls at the open. Full alert signals significant options activity. Price breaks above the 170 call wall, then breaks down below it as the call buyers take the foot off the gas, as well as the put sellers. So put sellers take the foot off the gas about the same time as the call buyers. That fuel that had driven price higher is gone now. And traders start buying puts, selling calls, and this brief bullish opening drive turns into bearish momentum on the downside. And even a stronger move down than NVIDIA and Tesla. So there's the 170 call wall. Price moves up almost to 172, reverses lower. Buyers quickly become exhausted. Sellers come in. And Oracle reverses lower. Looks like 160 is the next target. Now in this case, on this downtrend, I'm looking at the green extremes. For pullback entries, also right there, also at VWAP, shown by the light blue line. So showing the deeper pullbacks for short entries with the bright green shading. All right, so that's Oracle. Reported earnings after the close, gapped up. And let's see, Oracle. Right now, Oracle is still up for the day, about 8%, but the net change after the open is about minus 2.8%. So gap up, then a very quick bullish opening drive, then a sharp reversal lower as the call buyers and put sellers become put buyers and call sellers. All right, next stock, HIMS, stock in the news. Continues to move higher. Reached an agreement with Novo Nordisk, I believe. Very nice. Bullish opening drive and continuation. Let's see what options traders are doing. Let's go to HIMS. Traders buy calls and sell puts. Market makers take the opposite side of the trades and they have to buy stock to hedge their delta exposure. Looks like there was a little bit of consolidation at the 25 call wall key gamma strike, then a call wall breach. So traders are long calls, market makers are short calls. As price moves higher, those calls go deeper in the money. Market makers have to continue to buy stock to hedge their delta exposure. So it looks like the main move higher started to slow down about 11 a.m. and now really a consolidation continuation. Much stronger than Oracle, which reversed sharply. So that's HIMS. Zoom in on this. Draw a line at the 25 call wall key gamma strike. That level acted as resistance. Note the point of control moved up to that level. That's that purple line. Resistance, 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 then support, support. As traders continue to buy calls and sell puts. All right, last stock I want to take a look at is NBIS. And the news here was that Oracle was going, NVIDIA planned to invest $2 billion in NBIS. Bullish opening drive. Then a reversal, now consolidation. So let's see what options traders have been doing. All right, the bullish opening drive lasted until about 10:20. Another very classic pattern that repeats over and over and over again. Call buyers come in at the open. Traders buy calls. Market makers sell the calls. They have to buy stock to hedge their delta exposure. They take the foot off the gas and price either moves a little lower or now consolidates. So moved a little bit lower, then consolidates, as the fuel that had driven price higher is gone now. All right, so we looked at a variety of bullish opening drive scenarios that resulted in reversals, consolidation, and somewhat continuation. All right, any questions? Anyone have any stocks they want me to take a look at? If not, let's go back to the indexes. Choppy session continues. Let's go to Bookmap. ES. RES continues to find support right in this zone, just above ES 6750 and just below SPX 6750. But overall making lower highs. Let's go check trace. There's really no positive gamma that would be providing support here. The largest positive gamma is down at 6720, so quite a bit lower. Let's check NASDAQ. So it looks like most recently NASDAQ finding support at 24,900. Does anyone have any stocks they want me to take a look at? Nice reversal at SPX 6750. Sellers are exhausted. Shift to green volume dots. Back to SPY 675. Let's take a look at Hero. Let's zoom in on this just a bit. Take a look at Hero. See if we can get any signals. All right, so the S&P 500 index Hero signal continues to move higher in this very choppy day. So let's see if ES can break through this most recent resistance. Some sellers starting to come in. And Tehran, welcome, glad you're here. Wants to take a look at Iran? Sure. I don't have that in a Bookmap. We can take a look in Hero here. So I know that was another stock on the move today for sure. Most likely call buyers. That's definitely what happened. Traders buy calls, market makers sell the calls. They have to buy stock. Iran breaks above the 40 call wall key gamma strike. Sorry about that. Auto zoom. Bullish opening drive until about 10:35, 10:40. Call peak pattern, then consolidation. So strong move higher from 39.50 to 42.50. And also welcome, glad you're here. Sorry about the pronunciation. And you're very welcome. Let me check my watch list again. So I read one of the top stocks on my list of stocks, up over 5% since the open, 8.5% for the day. And by the way, the universe of stocks that I trade is stocks with hero signals. Let's take a look at that. Let's go to the Thinkorswim. This is my Hero All watch list. So this is Spotgamma Hero is available for a subset of stocks. And I picked out my subset of that stocks that I may be interested in trading. And then I keep track of that. So I can see this is the percent change from the open. These are stocks that are down the most from the open. The Serve Robotics was very strong, still up 7.5% for the day. But on the upside, top side of this list, when ranked from net negative change from the open, then here's the list of stocks ranked from strongest percentage change from the open. Note him, the stock that I talked about. Also NBIS Group. Here's some other stocks strong from the open. Credo Technology. There's IREN. So this is one way to find stocks to trade, is to just have this watch list. I did post a CSV file of all these stocks in Discord a couple of days ago, maybe last week. So that's a way to find stocks to trade. And to me, trading something like this is a lot easier than trading something like this. This is a very clear pattern. Get it on the bullish opening drive, pullbacks at the market pulse price change extremes, or just buy a call at the open. And again, to me, that's what I'm looking for. Much easier trade. So Tehran, thank you for pointing out IREN. Very good trade today, along with HIMS, NBIS Group, Astera Labs, Credo Technology. So many AI-related stocks. Now it looks like NBIS is starting to make a move higher again. Not much change in the hero signal. So some aggressive buyers coming in. All right, back to the indexes. All right, so now it looks like ES is breaking above that 675 level. That level of resistance. Let's check Euro, see what options traders are doing. I'll shift to the total signal, go to S&P 500 index. All right, the hero signal shifted higher again, confirming the move higher. Let's take one last look at NASDAQ. All right, NASDAQ bumping up against 24,950. Let's see what options traders are doing. All right, some aggressive buyers starting to come in. Large green volume dot. Mag 7. All right, overall though, very choppy day in the indexes. With what I thought were much easier setups and stocks that were in the news. All right, everyone, my time is up. I want to thank you very much for watching. Everyone, have a great afternoon. Remember, on Friday, big data releases coming up, 8:30 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. PCE, durable goods, GDP, 10 a.m. Michigan consumer sentiment, and we'll talk about it on Friday afternoon. So looking forward to seeing you Friday afternoon at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. All right, again, everyone, thanks. Have a great afternoon, and I will see you on Friday. Bye.